Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Across the Arts. I am your host, Patrick D. McCoy, and welcome to this very special installment of the Conversation series. I am so excited to welcome a dear friend to the show, Dr. Lori C. Hicks. Good morning, Lori. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Thank you for so much for having me. How are you?
I'm great. You know, Lori, the last time I saw you was in Charleston, South Carolina at the Color of
Color of
Music
music.
Festival.
Yeah.
And so it's so good to see you. I'm sad it's in this space, but at least I'm looking at your beautiful face and your lovely hair all in person. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Oh, I'm so excited.
Listen, the reason I wanted to have you on is because, as you know, right now this season is such a revived and a renewal in this interest of the music of Black composers, and I'm excited for you because you're putting the spotlight on Black women composers with your summit, and you're a composer yourself. We already know you can sing it down, but you're a composer yourself. But tell the listeners about your Black Summit featuring the works of Black women composers coming up at the end of this week.
Yes. So this weekend, March 26th through 28th, I've been putting together a virtual summit of Black women composers. I have 8 wonderful composers and just added a ninth to the interview or to the summit. And good morning. We were talking about our compositional styles, our background in music, how we got started, as well as the challenges that we faced as Black women composers in classical music, especially. And then, so that will take place on Friday. And on Saturday, we'll talk about the research and we'll dig into dissertations and papers and documentaries that are out there. Because I want to be able to provide a resource for performers and directors who want to be able to study this music and dig into that interpretation. We'll also have a reading session. I know it's not a live reading session. We'll do the best we can. But to look at some of the wonderful works, choral and solo works of these composers. We've got Evelyn Simpson Currington, we have Jasmine Barnes, we have B.E. Boykin, we have Dr. Kathy Bullock and her sister, Dr. Diane White Clayton, Dr. Zenaida Robles, and Gail Jones Murphy. So we came together. I did 2 separate panels because it would have been one really, really, really long one if I did everyone together. But I recorded 2 separate panels. We're again talking about their works. We'll interject samples of their works. And then Sunday, my good friend Stacy Gibbs will be joining me. He's my big brother, and he's been a mentor since I was 13 when I started writing my first song. And he was really the one who put the fire under me. We've been talking about this for a long time. We need more exposure for Black women composers. Blah, da, da, da. He was like, why don't you do something? Why don't you do it? So he's been, helpful and instrumental in putting that fire under me to really organize something like this. So Sunday will be like a recital of works. He and I will be commenting. Hi, Dr. Curtis, another mentor of mine. He and I will be giving commentary on the video performances of Black women composers, and we'll just take you through the whole gamut. And it is focused on vocal music, but next year we'll be expanding and growing. And my plan is to see this baby get bigger and stronger.
I'm excited for you, and what I'm really excited for is you are presenting Black women composers that people typically don't see all the time. I recognize some, but I saw a few unfamiliar names in the roster. What inspired you to put this amalgamation of composers together specifically? Because I see Dr. Diane White Clayton, who I adore, and Emerson Security, and I see a few others. But what made you really select this roster of Black women composers?
Well, well, my budget, first of all. Let's start with that. Because I wanted to make sure that I compensated these women for their time. So my budget was a big factor. And hi, Lisa. And I a few of them I knew already, and the Lord just kind of brought people into my path that I may not have known as well. I did reach out to some more larger name composers who were too busy, Jackie Hairston, Dr. Rosephany, and some other people as well. But, I knew that this panel or whatever the Lord brought and manifested would be perfect, be just what I needed for my first time, and to also give us room to grow in the future. So these ladies answered the call. They were excited. They had the time. And again, my budget.
I'm excited because, as you mentioned, some of the composers you just mentioned, of course, we know other standards such as Undine Smith Moore, and of course, Florence Price is the popular go-to now. So I'm really excited about some of these younger composers that you are really bringing into this firmament. Now, I want to kind of go back because I don't want to take it for granted that everybody knows who Lori Hicks is. So I want you to take it all the way back for me. How was you initially introduced to an interest in music? I don't want to assume, but I can tell that the church was important. Am I right about it?
Hey, yes, yes, sir. So, grew up in Detroit, Michigan, huge musical, epicenter, if you will. Grew up in the Black Church, Oak Grove AME Church in Detroit, and had my first solos there. Hi, Davion, had my first piano lessons, all of that. I played for the choir, for the youth choir. So that was my first introduction. And then and my mother also had me in piano lessons. I didn't want to be, but she had me in lessons. So went into high school, and Nina Scott with Renaissance High School dragged me into the choir. I'll be honest, because I did not they weren't singing gospel music. So I was not interested, but she dragged me in the choir, and I grew, I learned, and then I started writing music myself after I heard Psalm 57 by Betty Jackson King. Which was a huge, I mean, the colors and the sounds and everything that came out of that just made me, I said, oh, I can do that. That's a Black woman. I can do that too. So I started writing music myself and went into Kentucky State University, which I am now employed as the interim chair of music here, and continued. And I studied with Andrew Smith, who is a Metropolitan Opera baritone. And I was also a part of the concert choir under Dr. Carl Smith. And that took me to a whole nother level. And then I decided to continue on. I guess I figured I could make a little bit of money as in a music career. So I continued on and went on to Bowling Green State for my master's in vocal performance. And then I got bit by the opera bug, and then, took that into performing and on to my doctorate at University of Michigan, where I studied with George Shirley. And ever since have been performing and teaching, is primarily in historically black colleges, teaching music. And now I'm blessed to be able to head up a department in humanities and performing arts, and to be able to, be instrumental in designing curriculum and taking our schools and our program to the next level for the next generation of students. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I've been composing and, like I said, performing as well as a soprano, and teaching. I have an online program of teaching vocal fundamentals. I also do the gospel vocal warm-up. So I got involved with Hampton Ministers Conference about 7-8 years ago. And hey, Soror. So I got involved with that conference about 7-8 years ago. And that really lit a fire under me to start talking about gospel vocal pedagogy and tailoring technical instruction for the gospel community. And that has been a passion project. Like, I've really enjoyed being able to give workshops and tailor instruction again for for people who wouldn't otherwise have access to it and really don't want to change their style. They just want to be able to do it without injury and do it without strain. So I don't want to change it either. I want it, I want it to continue, but I want to be able to provide a technical foundation so that they can continue Sunday after Sunday, concert after concert in their ministry. And so, yeah, that's been kind of in a nutshell my musical journey. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but yeah, it's a lot.
You know what? That's so amazing. And, when I think about when I put together these virtual experiences, as I'm sure that most people do, there's a word that starts with a capital P that everybody, not Patrick,
Oh,
but it's a word that starts with a capital P that everybody has had to master in their vocabulary during this time. And that word is pivot.
yeah.
Everybody has
Oh,
had to pivot in some fashion. So can you maybe talk about last year this time we were in the reckoning of the pandemic. And so could you maybe talk about what went through your head when you were at your university and they said, "Hey, we're going to go online teaching," and you probably had performances and things that you would have done in person. How did that word pivot affect you last year this time, and how are you now making that an asset right now?
yeah. Well, last year, and I have to actually talk a little bit more personal about my personal pivot as well as my professional pivot. Right when the pandemic was happening, I actually went into the hospital
Oh.
and I had a heart condition and I was, with stress and everything that was going on, even before, just from work and just from life, even before all of this happened. So I got out of the hospital into the pandemic and everything is shut down. Now, yes, thankfully, I was only teaching one class, but, I had to manage and make sure my faculty were good, the students were good. Could we get them computers? How are we going to get them their instruction? How are we going to learn theory online? And we hadn't been set up for that. So definitely had to pivot, do a lot of research. I got into every online workshop I could that was talking about programs and things like that that was helping to transition everyone online. And we got through, hobbled through the end of the semester. We did cancel. I had to pull the choir off of tour. They were in the middle of their concert tour, which was major for them. Thankfully, as far as they're concerned, they got to New York and they were fine. So as long as they went to New York, they were okay. But it was a major loss for us to be able to recruit as well as to be able to raise funds for the choir. But we had to do once that shutdown happened, we had to do what would be best for the students. The band was actually at Mardi Gras around that time. So they had to come back early as well. So it shut down. I don't need to explain that. It shut down everything. But so of course it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do in the fall if we're not back in person? So we had contingency plans, worked over the summer. I applied for PPE, and things were cut. Funding was consistently cut. So I said, okay, what can we do online? What can we do to keep our students engaged? We started an online seminar series that my colleague is heading up, and we're inviting people in, being able to, again, engage the students online and give them opportunities to perform. So we've done a few small things virtually where they've had their performances. And yeah, partnering up with other schools, being able to observe with Wayne State, especially being able to observe their series as well. So very, very creative with zero financial extra financial support, if you will, but everybody's just trying to piece things together and get through until. So now we're starting to come back in. They have singers masks that the alumni are helping to support to send the choir. The band has their mask covers and whatnot. So they've done a few virtual performances. The faculty came together and did a virtual concert to keep everybody, energized. I've done several virtual concerts as well. Hi, Lisa. So yeah, it has been all virtual. I personally don't mind it. My son with his daycare and everything still being closed, I'm able to work from home and provide the same amount of instruction and sometimes even more. I've been able to invite people in that we wouldn't have been able to afford to fly in and put up normally. So that's been a huge thing for us, for access for our students. And I think it has helped administration to see these are ways that we can expand our offerings. We can offer courses and workshops to people who would not be able to take off work and come to a 9:30 class or come to an ensemble rehearsal and things like that. So yeah, piecing and pivoting. That's what I can say. But it's been a personal pivot as well as professional. But yeah, we just keep moving forward until we can be together again.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's something that I want to bring out in that whole line of conversation. You said something that really jumped out at me. And I've been telling people, especially if there are any young people on here, young college students, the pandemic, we all understand, we all agree it's been a devastating time. But as Dr. Hicks just brought out, you can be before world renowned artists virtually, artists who may not could have come to your space before.
Yeah.
Now there's a level of now I ain't trying to take money from folks because I still want these people to get their money, but you all know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're in a season right now that these artists have time on their hands like we have. So if you have the time to write to a world renowned artist and say, hey, I'm working on this, what do you think? And
Right.
more than not, they will respond in a more personal way because we're all in this situation together. So Dr. Hicks,
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up because I mean that is amazing. You can have all kinds of artist series and lyceum series and all these things because people have time to do it in this virtual space. So thank you so much for bringing it up.
And I actually did a whole semester curriculum this semester for my opera theater class based off of Kenneth Overton's Black Opera series. So,
Amazing. Kenneth Overton,
watching,
shout out to you.
shout out my Porgy. Hey, Porgy. But yes, to be able to see all the work that he has done and people that my students wouldn't have been exposed to normally, and just talk about, what were your takeaways? What did you learn from that? How were you inspired by that? So yeah, it has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Inspired.
I mean, and again, if I know that I don't want to take for granted that everybody knows everybody. So Kenneth Overton, Grammy Award winning singer, opera singer. But I want to give him a shout out and just to go back to what Dr. Hicks was saying, the fact that Kenny hosts Black Opera Live. If you haven't seen this broadcast on Facebook and YouTube on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, you need to get with it. Make sure you tune in tonight. That's going to be a great show. So Dr. Hicks, I want to go back to you. And I know we're still talking about this whole aspect of the pivoting and things like that, but I want to go to you and your actual teaching. What is something like new that you've had to really maybe something new that you didn't do before in your studio teaching? I know we're talking about the virtual aspect, but how do you relate to the students? Because I'm sure that I know for me, you probably have students who, they might not want to be on camera, or they don't have a green screen, or whatever, or they might not have a keyboard to play. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, as department chair, unfortunately, I don't have an opportunity to teach private voice this
Mhm.
year. I have been, I do still have a private studio, and then I do online master classes. So, but dealing with my vocal faculty, they were expressing that as an issue. And I said, well, they're going to have to come on camera. We have to uphold that kind of a standard to where they're prepared, they're dressed, they are standing. They're standing, they're engaging, their support, all of those things, because it is very difficult. I've had some people, want to have a private lesson and not want to come. And I said, unfortunately, I can't help you that way. So until you're comfortable, then, we'll hold off. But they very quickly understood that in order for us to be able to see what you're doing, this is still a mechanism. This is still, a singing muscle. So for us to be able to see what you're doing and analyze, under the conditions, we have to be able to see you. Sending their accompaniment to them in advance. Oh, that's Darshea, my former student, and being able to play their parts for them and send them that. Sending them additional resources and actually having them record their practice sessions. So when we were in the building, we could walk by the practice rooms and tell who was practicing and who was, doing the work. So now, you really have no idea because not all of our students are on campus. So we had to kind of start holding them accountable, submit your practice sessions. Let me see how you're preparing yourself, how you are working through your music. And from my faculty, that seems to have really helped and made a difference. So just how else can we incorporate the technology to, hey, how are you, Kenny? And incorporate the technology to hold the students accountable and to keep them as on track as possible. I know they're tired. They are tired of online and of Zoom, but we can't be in each other's faces unless we have a large enough room to be able to practice, and we don't always have that capability. So again, just keeping them as engaged as possible and using the technology and all the other to supplement all the other areas that we can.
Thank you. So I want to go back to the Black Women Composers Summit because that's the focus of our chat today, and I'm so excited for you and congratulations. I know you said you have a small skeleton, cast of characters. Putting it all together, it's probably you, but it's so amazing what you're doing. And I want to go back to this. So I just want to ask as we begin to wrap up and close. When people partake of this summit, what are some of the main takeaways that you hope that people will glean from participating in such a summit?
Mainly that we're out here and
Yeah.
we are putting out a massive amount of music repertoire that extends the whole gamut of performers and styles. We don't just stick, yes, we might be categorized classical music composers, but that was another reason why I loved having Rhiannon Giddens, because she's also composed an opera and a ballet, but she's primarily in popular and country music. So we are writing in any style and for every instrument. I hear too often and see on social media, oh, I'm looking for music by Black women composers, but I can't find any. Who's publishing? So to be able to bring to everyone, hi, oh, thank you, Patricia. To be able to bring to the public, these are just a few of these composers, which is another reason why I started doing the daily bios of Black women composers. And again, not just the ones we hear about all the time, Margaret Bonds and Florence Price, but it warmed my heart and actually surprised me that I have more than a month's worth of Black women
Mm.
composers to be able to highlight on my dailies, in addition to the ones I have on the panel. So it
Come
was
on, scholar. That's a
right,
book. That's
right.
a book.
Okay, speak it. But that was reaffirming to me. I want the takeaway to inspire the next generation of Black women composers. You'll hear the panel discuss how representation matters, and hearing a piece or performing a piece by a Black woman composer inspired them and let them know, I can do this as well. So I want that representation to not be few and far between. I want them to say, oh, I can see this whole list here. I'm doing a dissertation on this composer or that composer, and I want to be able to research that. So, to be able to provide that research or that resource, excuse me, of performances and publications. There are books out here on Black women composers, and again, just to further that conversation. Good morning, thank you. Um, and yeah, to be able to provide that resource for people who want to program that music, for our white friends who are, are maybe not exposed to Black women composers or composers of color as frequently, and just to be able to say, yes, we are here. This is where you find our music and purchase the music and program the music. So let's just get it out here.
Another point that you illumined in your conversation just now is the fact that yes, not just black women composers, but black composers, period. We do the whole gamut. And I think that sometimes we do tend to get pigeonholed and to say, oh, because this is a black composer, it's gospel. Or you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Oh, so do you mind a question? Because I see Dr. Curtis has a question.
Yes,
It's a
please.
great one. So Dr. Curtis says, you are now an administrator, having started as a performer. How are you finding the transition, and what advice would you give to performers when offered the chance to be an administrator? That's a great question.
Thanks, Doc. First advice would be therapy. No, but seriously, self-care, self-preservation, take care of yourself, balance your time. I as a performer, I could, I knew when my gig was, so I'd rehearse when I had this time, and I kind of had a more open schedule, and now I have to be very intentional. When am I going to rehearse? When am I going to write, work on writing music? When am I going to just have downtime? Because especially at an HBCU, we wear so many different hats. And it's
Mhm.
not in the job description. It is, we're having to fill in a lot more, and it's a lot more nurturing environment where we're spending a lot more hands-on time with the students and with the faculty as well. So I have had to learn to be very protective of my time, of my schedule, and intentional with, this. I can't drop everything and answer every call as soon as I get it. This is my time for my music. This is my time for my family, my son, and this is a time for work, etc. So yeah, being very intentional, and yes, therapy.
I'm glad, even though this is kind of like off topic, I'm glad that you mentioned that point about the nurture in the HBCU culture. It's definitely hands on. I mean, you got to be the therapist, you got to be the coach, you got to be the counselor. I mean, you have to do it
Yeah.
all in terms of that. And I just think
Stylists.
about
We've had to,
stylist. Yes,
get
yes.
clothing for our students for auditions, getting the, yes, yes, go above and beyond.
Because I'm thinking about both of my experiences when I was, at my alma mater, which I adore. All of my professors were so nurturing in that way, and I love my conservatory experience. But some of that nurture that I got at the HBCU, it did not happen at the conservatory in that way. I got it, but it took a bit more time to get it. If that makes any sense. So I'm
I
glad
would
you brought
not be doing what I'm doing, and I would not have furthered my education and my performance if it had not been for that nurturing at HBCU from
that.
my professors, especially Mr. Andrew Smith and his wife Wilhelmina Fernandez. May he rest.
Oh.
Oh yes, she was my mentor, and she would give us coachings all the time, and they really pushed me because I did not want to pursue music professionally, and they really got behind me. You have something special, you have a gift, you need to pursue it. And it really put me on the path to, yeah, to get my doctorate and everything else that I've been able to accomplish, thankfully.
Wow. So Mama Eaton wants you to please advertise your spirituals.
Okay.
I love
Yes,
her.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So on my website, I have an album of spirituals. I titled it Music of My Voice. And it is all self-arranged. I also perform them as well, but there are about 6 spirituals on there. I have some duets as well. So you can go to lchstudios.com. You can purchase and download all of them in all settings. I have high, medium, and low, individual, and then I have the whole songbook. So you can go on there into the store and get this, and you can also listen to them on the. Thank you. You can also listen to them on the website and see which ones you'd be interested in if you didn't want to get the whole songbook. And if you have any issues, feel free to email me and whatnot. But so far so good. The website works just fine. But yes, please support. I appreciate that, Mama E. Thank you.
This has been so amazing. Lori, it's so good to see you. For those who are
Thank
just
you.
jumping on, the first time Dr. Hicks and I, well, I can call her Lori because my girl. So when the first time we met was actually in Charleston because we were at the Color of Music Festival and she performed. I remember hearing that seraphic soprano voice, so I still remember that. And so it's so glad I'm so glad to be in this space with her. So we're here really pushing for her upcoming Black Women Composers Summit. And so I'm going to put these wonderful faces on the screen. These are some of the composers that are going to be featured. So as we close our conversation, Lori, could you go ahead and just give the rundown again of the composers who will be featured, and how can the listeners really gain access to this magnificent summit that you're putting on starting this week?
Yes. So our panel discussion consists of Evelyn Simpson Currington, Dr. Diane White Clayton, Dr. Zenaida Robles, Dr. Kathy Bullock, Dr. Maria Thompson Corley, Gail Jones Murphy, and Jasmine Barnes and B.E. Boykin. So you'll hear discussions from all of these ladies, as well as a new edition of Rhiannon Giddens as in a separate interview. You'll hear them talk about their compositional styles and challenges as Black women composers in the industry. And you'll also get to hear excerpts of their music. We'll do a reading session of the music. We'll also talk about the research that has been out there on Black women composers as a whole. That will be day 2. And then day 3, you'll get to enjoy a concert or recital compilation of works of Black women composers, both choral and vocal. So we're focusing on vocal music this year. We have a student registration price, which I forgot to mention. Student registration is only $5. I want all students who are interested to be able to have access to this information. This footage. So on the website, you can see that. And all you have to do is upload your student ID just so I can make sure you're a student. And you can have that the summit for just $5. Registration is $30 for the whole summit. And you have on-demand replays. There's a program booklet where I list the publishers. I list, the catalogs of these composers, as well as a bibliography of research and resources if you want to be able to program this music, and as well as full biographies of all of the composers that we'll be featuring. And I think that's it. It's a lot, but I think that's
That's
it. Yeah, it's
enough.
not just another panel discussion, y'all. This is a lot of work and a lot of resources in one place. I want you to be able to know where to go. If I'm looking for this kind of music, I can go to Black Women Composers and look.com and look up this composer. So I want to be able to build into an ongoing program, mentorship, scholarship competitions for young Black women composers, and again, maybe even publishing of new works by young Black women composers. I mean, I just want to be able to be a resource for years to come, so nobody can say, well, I don't know where to find it, I don't know where to go. Come here, I'm right here, I'm showing you where to go, and I'm showing you who all is out there. So I want to be able to do that.
So listen, I'm sure there are several, I'm probably many music teachers, particularly voice teachers, who are listening right now. So you said something that piqued my own curiosity. So I want to know. When I should say I want to know, I'm going to challenge people. If you're a teacher and you have the resources to do so, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to buy some of these student um, opportunities so that the students can have access, so that money don't be an issue. So I'm going to myself. I'm just going to put on there. I'm speaking for me. I will buy 5 student registrations, and then make them available, to my students who are interested. And if they don't take it up, that's on them, but it's out there. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna challenge everybody who's on here to support this wonderful effort that Dr. Hicks is making available, not only to the students but to all of us, because all of us should be students. Amen. We should all be students
Yes.
of this
Yes.
craft. It's always something to learn. Lori.
Blessing. Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm going to do that. So it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for this endeavor. And as you, oh, Dr. Curtis said he will support 5. Thank you, Dr.
Oh,
Curtis.
bless you. Bless you. So I have a coupon code for that. I will, if you're interested in sponsoring some students, just send me a message on the website and I can send you that coupon code. Amen. Amen. Yes. Let's get our students involved. Because
Thank
they
you
need
so
to know
much.
this music and they need to see that representation. Yes, thank you. Oh,
So I am excited. I'm excited. So thank you so much. Again, I'm gonna put this information up very quickly, just to let you all know about this exciting opportunity. And it's gonna be amazing. This Black Women Composer Summit. It kicks off on the 26th. So we have a lot going on. I'm sorry, this flight I couldn't get the resolution as I would have liked it,
oh.
but be that as it may, you can reach out to Dr. Hicks. And Lori, if people want to reach out to you on your social, is it best to get on your personal Facebook page, or do you have another page that they can connect with you other than your website?
Yeah, at Dr. Hicks Music is the Facebook, and I'm on. You can come to my personal as well, Dr. Lori Hicks, and then Instagram is at Dr. Hicks Music as well. So those are the two I check most of the time. And yes, just feel free to send me a message if you're interested in sponsoring or knowing more information. Feel free to send me a message. And you can also send a message through the website, blackwomencomposers.com.
Amazing. Again, this has been Across the Arts and a special installment of the Conversation Series. We've been talking to Dr. Lori Hicks, and I hope that you all will continue to follow her work and that you will be a part of this Black Women's Composers Summit that is happening this week. It's amazing. It's amazing. And thank you all for those persons, especially Dr. Curtis. And I'm sure there are going to be others who are going to support and make way for our students to participate. Again, I am your host, Patrick D. McCoy, and this has been Across the Arts. I hope you will also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Across the Arts, which archives all of these shows. Again, I'm Patrick D. McCoy, and thank you so much for this very special presentation of the
Thank you.
Conversation Series. Hope that you all have a great day.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you.